My name is Banerjee, and thank you so much for giving this opportunity. I work for IL&FS in Mumbai, and I head the group HR function. So interestingly, we all have been talking about the great attrition. So I think we are no different from that. So definitely attrition is one of the biggest trend that we are definitely witnessing. The second thing that we are witnessing is there is a mixed bag of feeling for work from home and work from office. So I think that's a big trend, and hybrid model is something that at least as of now we have been able to fathom out. And the third thing that we are seeing is the purpose of like what has happened in the last 2 years. Like people have found that what is the purpose of me working. So I think these are the three main areas that even I'm focused on. A is attrition, B is the hybrid model, and C is the purpose. So again, in the business growth, we have a mixed bag of population. So where we have an X and Y generation, obviously they have a little bit of an orthodox way of looking at how they transform or they growth in the organization. Whereas we have the Gen Zs of the world and the millennials of the world. So they look at a very different perspective. So what's driving us basically is, of course, the third point that I mentioned is the purpose. So I think purpose is something that is driving each and every across the generation. I think the generations don't really matter on the purpose part. And the second part is the amount of appreciation. So I think that's the area that is really mattering a lot. So one is purpose, second is appreciation, and the appreciation can be instant gratification, or it can also be whether I am able to get some recognition by means of payouts, or it can be some recognition by means of like maybe a certificate or maybe a time with my managing director or anything. So I think, but those tangible inputs have really made a lot of difference. So one thing is definitely there is that we have to be more agile. So I think the business leaders have to become more agile. I think many business leaders are still struggling to being agile. And when I mean what I mean to say by agile is the business community, the market, as well as the challenges are ever changing, and the conditions that we are in right now are completely different from what it was a few years back. So there are very few managers who have been able to adapt to themselves to this kind of a situation. So I think agility is something that each and every manager has to really work upon. The second skill that I see that most of the places are struggling with is on the communication part. So people don't communicate. So people have it in their mind. A lot of times when I have my interactions with the managers, they say that my team is not performing. So my immediate question to him is or her is that have you told what you need from your team? And in most cases, at least 8 out of the 10 cases, I find that they have not said it. So it's in your mind, but people are not mind readers, so they cannot read your mind. So obviously communication is something which is important. And third aspect, which I find that as Indians, I think we are very miser on that, is we don't appreciate. So I think appreciation is something which is really lagging. To give you a simple example, like if you go to any movie hall or anywhere and you just walk out and somebody is asking you what's your experience, how much is a chance that you will rate that person? If there's a rating scale of 1 to 10, how much is a chance that you will rate that person 10? There's high probability you'll end up between 7 to 9, right? So so when we are talking about everywhere, we are talking about net promoter score and how's your response and other things. But the same thing applies the other way around too. Employees are also looking at appreciation, but are we able to do that? Instant gratification is something which is here to stay. Yeah, so I had a very, I would say varying career movement, because when I started my career, I started with a public sector company. So I started my career with LIC. In LIC, it is very different. It's a giant basically, and you just get lost in this entire process. So the things that you have to do there is more of like there are this fat SOPs which has been written, and they call it manuals, and you just have to pick it up and just follow it. So nobody cares whether you're doing it, not doing it, everything sab chalta hai. So that's the attitude. And from there, when I joined the private sector, my biggest challenge out over there was the acceptability. So I think the first thing that the private sector thought, ye government sector se aaya, ye to kaam karega nahi. So my first sense of achievement was when within the first 3 months of me joining, when my director out over there came up and said that you are a profound service to the branch, and we are very happy that we have recruited you. So I think that was a sense of achievement for me. And the same journey continues. So from operations, I moved to finance. So from finance, I moved to customer service. From customer service, I moved to sales training. From sales training, I moved to people training, and now finally I'm into HR. So everywhere there have been this profound achievements, because everything that I've done, I've taken up new challenges, and at each segment I've actually been able to break the ceiling, because many a times people thought, to finance ka banda hai, to training kaise kar lega, but I did that, and I achieved the whatever the benchmarks was kept, I achieved that. They needed certification, I achieved that. They needed targets to be met, I achieved that. So I think that gives a lot of sense of satisfaction. And if today I'm standing here and I'm looking back at what I've done in my career, so these are the places which gives me a lot of pride and a lot of happiness, that this is the sense of achievement that I've had, that each role that I took up, I really did well, I did justice to that role, and I think that gives happiness. So I think as a person, I'm a very social person. So I have always loved to interact with people, and I've always loved to have chats and conversations and debates. And I think that's been my inherent quality. I think I'm born that way. So what I've found is, finally throughout this journey, one thing that has been common, and it doesn't matter whether you are in that department or not. What matters is the human connect. So what I've enjoyed the most is that that human connect is brilliant. It brings up so much of learning, so much of warmth, and so much of new things that you can see and learn. And thanks to the various roles that I held, which was not only restricted to India, but I went to international waters also. And there I found that language is just a means of communication. Many a times I met with people who did not know my language, I did not know his or her language, but we had a good conversation. So what's important is, if you're able to connect, language is just a medium. So I think for me, the most rewarding part in this entire journey has been the human connect. And obviously, like while we are biased in saying that human connect is the highest when you are in human resource, so so I think that's the most rewarding one. But I think throughout the journey, what I've really enjoyed and I keep enjoying is the amount of interactions that I can do with humans. I think that's brilliant. So my simple advice to all of them would be, is that, based on my own experience as well as what I see around, is it's important to believe what you want to do. I think that's the most important, and I see that in the new generation. I see a lot of sense, like which obviously when I was their age, possibly I did not have it, because today I may have just crossed that experience barrier, and I've possibly started thinking on those lines. But I see the new generation quite efficiently has it, and I really appreciate that. And my only submission, or I would say advice to them, would be that keep that belief on, let that not break. Believe in what you want to do and what you want to achieve, and be focused in doing it. I think that's most important. It's not matter